Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your water pump and your serpentine belt on a 2002 Dodge Durango. Now this has got the 4.7 liter motor. This happens to be the SXT model. Now, the first thing we need to do is disconnect the negative cable on the battery. Make sure that you're not going to accidentally turn the motor over while you've got things taken apart. Now we need to remove this overflow tank. This is your washer fluid reservoir and also your coolant overflow reservoir, but it also kind of acts as a fan shroud. It's kind of molded on the inside here. On the passenger side, you'll see we've got these two washer pump motors and then this level sensor right here. Just push in on the little tab here and those should slide right off like so. On a truck or a Dakota, this will be very similar, but you'll only have one washer pump here. I'm just going to pull these connections and just kind of tuck them over here out of the way. Then we just need to take off these two hoses here at the bottom of these pumps. Now we're gonna lose our washer fluid, and I've got a bucket down below catching that. But if you've got a way to plug this off, or something, if you'd like to, that's fine. Kind of helps if you give these a little twist first. That kind of breaks the seal. And then just wiggle it off. Take off the lid, it'll drain a little bit faster. Just grab a 10mm socket and a little 6-inch extension, and there's a 10mm bolt that holds this side of the reservoir in. We can loosen and remove that. And that's what that little guy looks like. Just set that aside. Now on this side, it's underneath this radiator hose, but you can see that same 10mm bolt that holds in this overflow. We also need to disconnect. This is our little overflow line, so go ahead and just take that off, and we're going to have to tuck it underneath in order to get it out. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it out of the way while we take out that 10mm bolt. Same thing, I'm just using a 6-inch extension to get down to that. So you can see it's right underneath this hose. There's not a lot of room for travel for this ratchet. I'm going to swap this out for an electric one. Now these are fairly inexpensive. If you're going to be doing a lot of work on a car, I suggest you pick one up. This is the Milwaukee M12. And there's the other bolt. We'll set that aside. And we'll just carefully just kind of wiggle this up. Again, watch the overflow hose here. Just kind of tuck it right up underneath. There we go. And we can set that out of the way. All right, now we're going to drain the radiator. And if you look right down through here, I've got a light on this so you can see, but I have my hand right in here. I'm just reaching through the front underneath the bumper where you can put your hand, and you can see right here, this is that little drain plug. We just need to turn that a quarter turn. Now if that's too difficult to turn by hand, grab some pliers. Hopefully we can still fit these in there. These are just standard pliers, and just like that. Now once you turn this a quarter turn, just pull it out. And then it's draining. It'll drain a little bit faster also if you'll just take off this cap. Okay, now we need to take off the fan clutch assembly. And you'll notice on these fan blades, they're not evenly spaced. This looks like the largest gap right here, so that I can get a wrench on here. It's easier if you leave the belt on, by the way, before you try to take this off, so that won't move around as much. All I've got are some old Crescent wrenches. This is an actual Crescent wrench made by Crescent Tool Company, probably a long time ago, and this is a Harbor Freight one. Nothing wrong with it, but you can see the difference in the profile there. So I'm just going to use this one. It's got a lot more surface area to grab onto that. It looks like that's about the maximum size on this wrench here, and I'm just going to smack it with a hammer. So just the impact hopefully will loosen that up counterclockwise to remove this. All right, we got it. That took a few tries, but we got it loose. That's awesome. Okay, so we got lucky getting that loose with that Crescent wrench. To be honest though, that usually works almost every time I've done this. But there's also a tool you can rent that's got some pins to hold this pulley in place and a longer handled wrench to take that off. And we'll set our fan aside. So on this tensioner pulley right here, just grab a 15mm socket or wrench and just turn that clockwise, and then you'll be able to slip the belt right off the water pump pulley like so. We'll just take the belt off and get it out of here. You can see right here it's got the little belt routing diagram for you. There's a closer look at our Serpentine belt. So again, just starting to come apart, completely cracked in certain areas, and then of course fraying right down there. Next thing we need to do is remove this idler pulley right here. That's a 15mm. I'm just using a longer handled socket wrench here. Loosen and remove that. Now's a good time to inspect your pulleys and everything and make sure that you don't have any noises or anything like that. This one still spins freely and doesn't have any side-to-side play or anything. It's a good idea to check your tensioner pulley here as well, and that feels okay, and that's moving just fine. But these do go bad, and occasionally you just need to swap these pulleys out. Probably not a bad idea to do as a preventative maintenance, but in this case we didn't grab one, so we'll just reuse this one. Alright, now we can loosen and remove each of the water pump bolts, which are right here. Now there's 8 of these all the way around. These are also not all the same length, so just when you take these out, keep track of the order or the orientation of each bolt. The last one is just above the crankshaft pulley here. I'm just going to use this Milwaukee ratchet to take this off. This is the M12 extended reach. It's a tool I've been using a lot lately. It's a little bit more expensive than the M12 non-fuel version, which is the fuel means it's brushless. But the extended reach on this one and the additional power really does come in handy. But I just thought I'd grab it, make this go a little bit quicker. You can see the length on that compared to some of these other ones here. We'll clean these up and maybe put some anti-seize on them. Looks like they may have had anti-seize on them, but they are pretty gummed up. So we'll let's just keep track of the layout, or you can also just put them into the new pump. That's a good way to keep track as well. The longer bolts go in this one here, just almost directly under the alternator, and then you skip. This is a short one, this is a long one here, and this is a long one here. Okay, I'll show you how I've got it laid out here. I just laid each of these bolts kind of with the corresponding hole with the new water pumps. Alright, now we've got all the bolts out. You can just give the pulley here a little tap just to knock that loose. Set this old one aside, and we're going to clean up the block here, and we'll just wipe this all down. I would not use a razor blade. It'd be really easy to scratch or ding this. Very easy to cause some new leaks on the new pump. You could use a Scotch-Brite pad or something. I've just got some paper towels with some solvent on here just to try to clean off the surface of this, just the mating surface, to make sure that it's nice and clean and flat and no debris on there. A little microfiber rag works pretty well too, and you can kind of feel with your finger that there's nothing on there that's gonna cause a leak. The new pump here comes with this little protective cardboard to protect the impeller on this side, but it also has this little green protector. It also has got some grease here on the threads for the fan clutch. But I wanted to point out the gasket. So this gasket is a lot different than the old gasket. This was like a silicone gasket. You can see it's just like a round little blue or light blue silicone type of gasket material. Here, this one, it came already pressed in here. One area was a little loose. I pressed it in, and it seems really tight. It's not coming down, not loose at all. I noticed on this on the instructions here, it just says position the new gaskets after coating them on both sides with a thin film of sealer. That's talking about cardboard or paper gaskets. For a rubber gasket, use only silicone grease. Sealers will cause premature failure of the rubber gasket. Meaning we don't need to put any RTV or sealant on here. If you want, you can put a little bit of silicone grease or Sil-Glide like this would be fine. This doesn't seem like it really needs any to stay in place, but I'm just going to throw a thin layer here on this. This is pretty well pressed into this casting. It does not appear to be coming out or loose or anything, but the Sil-Glide might help with its initial seating on the block. I really just put a super thin layer here. it's probably not even necessary. You can see this also has a little, like a sharper ridge here, and that's what's actually pressing down against the block. So it's a very small amount of surface material that is making contact. All right, so I've got these bolts cleaned up a little bit from what they were. They were pretty gunked up. I'm just gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on these. If we have to do this job again, it'll make these bolts come out a lot easier. Just a little bit on the threads here, and then just kind of roll it around with my finger, like so. All right, now we can put the new pump on. And remember, this one here is one of the long ones. And same with this one up here. And then the other long one is this one right there. That's all three of the longer bolts. And then the rest are going to be the shorter bolts. We could just get these all started. And the last one down here is also a short one. Now the torque spec on these is 43 foot-pounds. If you don't have a torque wrench, I suggest you grab one. This is a great one. This is the Gear Wrench 85062 is the part number. This is a lot nicer than some of the Harbor Freight ones I've used in the past. It seems to be more accurate, and you pull this little collar back right here to change the torque. I've got it set to 43 for these, and we'll just go in kind of a crisscross star pattern. I'm going to start with this one here. All right, then we can put our idler pulley back on, and remember that's a 15mm bolt. Just get that started by hand. And the torque spec on this is 40 foot-pounds. You know, I forgot to mention, here's our part number. This is from Master Pro that we ended up picking up locally. And they had two listings for the Serpentine belt. This is the one that ended up fitting the KO60875, also by Master Pro. And now we can put the Serpentine belt back on. And again, we'll just follow that diagram printed up here. Going over the AC. Now we're going to go under the water pump pulley, but I'm going to save that for last because that's smooth. It's a little bit easier to put it on. So we'll go back over the alternator and then around the power steering pump. All right, I've already got this 15mm socket on my torque wrench, so I'm just going to turn that clockwise and slide the belt onto the water pump pulley. Just make sure that the belt is fully seated in all of the grooves. You don't have anything crossed up or anything. That looks good. All right, then we can put our fan and fan clutch back in, and the resistance of the clutch will still allow you to thread that on until it bottoms out or seats out. There we go. Now the main thing, you just want to make sure that that's snug and it's not going to back off. I don't know what the torque is supposed to be, but I'm just going to give it a tap or two here. Another thing I just wanted to show, this little slot right here on either side. It's at a different angle over here on this side, but that little slot, that's where the shroud slash reservoir lines up. All right, now we can put this little reservoir slash overflow tank back in. Just kind of watch everything as it goes in. Make sure that you carefully feed that down without cracking anything or breaking off any of these plastic pieces. And just take a look down below on the sides and make sure that you get it lined up. All right, so you can see down here, I just wanted to show you the shroud here. See that little tab? Just line that up like so. If you can see that little slot going through that tab, that's just showing you that this driver's side is also lined up. All right, now this little plug down here, if I can get to it, see right here where it's pulled out, like so. So I'm just going to push it back in like that and see if I can't turn it so where it's straight up and down. Helps to get some pliers in there. This is a smaller needle nose plier that I didn't use earlier. Just like that. There we go. Once you push it in, just make sure that you turn it so that it's straight up and down. Just make sure you reroute the overflow tank coolant line and put that back on. And then we can put the 10mm bolt back in there. I'm just going to put it in the socket here and then feed it down this way. If you look through the front of the grill, you can actually see it line up. See if I can show you. And that's it. Same thing with the 10mm on this side. It's a little tricky to get it started, but if you just kind of come down through here, see, I've just got the bolt in the socket here. Just get it started, and you may have to wiggle this a little bit, but there it goes. You can see this one a little bit easier than the other side where it lines up. And just tighten that until it's snug. All right, then we can put these hoses back onto our washer pumps. This one here, this one right here with this little segment or a little connector is this one, and then this one right here. Those just press on. Now if you mix these up, what you'll probably do is when you pull the front washer, it'll wash the back, so just pay attention to which one went where. Hopefully I got it right. And then these connectors, they actually just route underneath this AC line. We'll start with this one here, which has got this little red colored tab on it. Snap it into there, and then this dark connector goes here, and then the lighter gray is the last one that goes right here on the water level sensor. Alright, then you want to fill it up with some coolant, and I'm going to add some distilled water. I'm just doing a 50-50 mix here. You can buy this stuff that's already pre-mixed. Just get whatever they recommend for your vehicle. And then I'm going to put some coolant and water into this overflow here as well. This has got a little dipstick. Looks like we're just above the full mark there. Alright, so I'm just going to put the cap back on here. We've got the radiator cap back on. It's not a bad idea to clean some of this corrosion off of your battery here before putting that cable back on. Just make sure that that's fully seated on there. Hammer that down with your socket wrench. Just kidding. Just make sure that it's nice and snug. Sounds good, looks good. Double check, make sure that your coolant or antifreeze is topped off here as well. We'll make sure we get a little bit more in through the radiator fill cap there. You just want to make sure that there's no air left in the system once you're done. And that, of course, it will bleed itself out, but you do need to run that a few times. Sometimes it helps to squeeze the hoses and kind of pushes any of the bubbles up and out of the system. Also a good idea just to turn on the heater, alternate between the heat and the air conditioning a few times. That will seem to flush any of the air bubbles or pockets of air out of the system as well. And that's pretty much everything. You're also going to want to top off your washer fluid over here and just double check your level of coolant. Make sure that that's completely full and overflow as well. Hope you liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. I'll put a link in the description to some of the parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.